It's the Premier League weekend over 3 days completed. Liverpool did their job comfortably on Friday. Some significant results on Saturday, most notably at the bottom, Cardiff losing, Brighton drawing and Southampton mathematically safe. And today was always going to be pivotal. 10 men Arsenal losing 3-0 at Leicester. Sergio Aguero's goal putting Manchester City back on top of the league at Burnley, and a point apiece between Manchester United and Chelsea at Old Trafford. So as I say, for the 30th time this season, the lead has changed hands. It's back in Manchester City hands with 2 games left to play. Look at that, 92 points, leads 91 with City and Liverpool at the top. Spurs and Chelsea have their destiny in their own hands with 2 games to go in terms of the top 4 finish. Arsenal and Manchester United can only win and hope the others slip up. It's a straight fight between Cardiff and Brighton to survive at the bottom. Southampton, as I say, safe from yesterday. Burnley remain on 40 points.
Pinched the 3 points right at the death there, but that's the one thing that Higuain, you can't go asleep on him, even if he's playing poorly. He's got that sort of movement in his locker.
That was positive from De Gea. We know we'll wake up to negative headlines in the morning. You just said he's in one of those periods at the moment where he's getting punished for every single error.
Yes, he is. And look, every player, whether you're an outfield player, whether you're a goalkeeper, obviously it's going to be more highlighted when you're a goalkeeper that when you make a mistake, you pay for it. And he's just having that 4 or 5 weeks now. A critical point for United in the season, really, in the league, when they are really fighting to get into the Champions League spots. It looks more and more difficult now. You'd expect them to win the last 2 games, but there's a lot that needs to happen elsewhere now that's looked probably unlikely. But David's been a great keeper for 5 years, 5-6 years, whatever he's been. He's saved United numerous times, so United fans and people will give him a lot of leeway, and he fully deserves that. He's having a bad time, but he'll come through it.
Yeah, he is. The confidence is low. Normally, when he's playing at his very best, those shots come in from goalkeepers in training. They're taught soft hands. Yeah. You make it soft hands. He's grabbed at it. He's tried to grab it, and it's popped out. And that's what happens when your confidence is low. You're dreading it as it's travelling towards you. You're actually, rather than enjoying the save, it's going the other way for him. And there's a few mistakes here. Again, what we're saying there, Paul, I don't know what he was thinking there as a goalkeeper. And here again, totally in the wrong position, as simple as that.
I think it's just a lack of confidence, as we said. He looks all over the place at the minute. Again, Glenn spoke about him. He seems to go for everything with his feet, and he's stuck in between the two there. That's to say with his hands, but his mind's so confused that he's not really sure. But as you rightly said earlier on, we shouldn't forget, time and time again, he's got this team out of trouble. He has. He's done it for 4 or 5 years. As I said, I think United are lucky to be a top 6 team without him. He's been that influential. I think what's won the Player of the Year, the club awards from, I think it's the last 4 years. So that tells you everything about him.
He needs to go home and someone needs to show him a video of all them great saves he's been making. He needs to edit it out of his head. Where he's at is at this moment in time. It's like a striker when you're missing chances. You have to re-edit it in your mind. The more you ponder on it, the more you think about it, the longer it lasts. He'll come through it. But he needs to go home and look at all the positive things that he's done over this season and last season and remind himself how good he is as a goalkeeper.
There's nothing worse as a player being out of confidence. When your confidence is low, we've all had spells. Sometimes, even as a midfield player, you're thinking, I can't pass the ball 5 yards. For some reason, you just go, you have a spell where you have shots that normally you bang them on target straight, and for some reason, just it all drains out of you, and you wonder where your next goal's coming from as a forward, as an attacking midfield player. He's wondering where his next clean sheet's coming from, the way he's going. But he's quality. We know he's top quality. He's one of the very best in the world, and he'll come through it. Let's get some reaction from Old Trafford. We are delighted to welcome Cesar Azpilicueta, the Chelsea captain. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Good positive point for your team today?
Hello, good afternoon. Well, obviously we didn't start the game very well. We conceded an early goal and it put us in a difficult position, but despite other games we stayed in the game and we fought until the end, and had the last couple of minutes I think we had better chances to score and to get the 3 points.
Yeah, you could have won it at the end with Gonzalo Higuain.
Yeah, unlucky that one.
And what does it say about Chelsea finally, I mean, you've struggled away against the top six this season. To come from behind at a place like Old Trafford and get a positive result?
Well, we have seen that every game is very tough for every team to get the points. Today we started the game and we knew that it was a great chance to get the 3 points and to be in a very good position. But even though that early goal put us behind, and at least today we did great. We stayed in the game. We thought that goal before halftime was very important, and I think in the second half the team grew in confidence, played better, and at the end I think we had the best chances apart from the corner.
And 2 games to go. How important is it in terms of the top 4 to have your destiny in your own hands? You're not relying on anybody else now.
Yeah, that's it. It's in our hands. We have 2 tough games. But the objective was to arrive into the last games with only depending on us. So, it's up to us to get the 6 points and to be in the next Champions League.
And how important is that for a club like Chelsea?
It's massive. I think last year we didn't qualify for the standard of Chelsea. 2 years in a row without Champions League is not what we expect. So obviously we are all working very hard to get into the best competition in Europe and to bring back Chelsea where it belongs.
And finally, you do have another route, of course, and a chance of winning a major trophy. Semi-final week in the Europa League as well.
Yeah, we are now in the last stage before the final. We have been working since September to arrive to the end. So obviously we know that we expect a tough game on Thursday. But when it remains only 3 games to lift the trophy, we have to take the energy from everywhere. We know that to lift the trophies, to still win, to keep winning, I think is very important for this club. Obviously, we will work very hard to try and to lift the trophy on the 29th of May.
Cesar, good luck in Germany. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Well played. We should point that out as well. I mean, Maurizio Sarri's got a lot of criticism. Yes, they're nowhere near the top 2, but now they're in the top 4 with the destiny in their own hands, and the final 4 with a chance of winning a European trophy.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown his mettle, isn't he? A bit like a player, when you lose confidence, a lot of the fans wanted him out. 6 weeks ago? They were turning on him a little bit, but he kept his nerve, and the players have responded for him. That's the important thing, to see the players, how Chelsea have responded. They've done ever so well, and I think on Thursday nights now, that's a priority. I think slowly the number 1 team was starting to be played on a Thursday, thinking he wants silverware for Chelsea. I think that's a real priority for him, and he can get into the Champions League that way. It looks as if they're going to get in through but a few weeks ago that looked as if that wasn't going to happen, the top 4, I must say. So credit to him, he's turned them round, and whether they're playing at their very best, I'm not so sure. I think there's more to come from Chelsea. If the right players are played, in my opinion, in the right position, I think Giroud deserves a chance in the Premier League to be playing, things like that. And I think, as we said, Conte. But you're looking at their fixtures. Watford at home, who have got the FA Cup to think about. Leicester away will be a tough one. That will be a tough game. There's no doubt about it. But I just think they're in the right position at the moment.
Of course, United know all about what winning the Europa League can do if you don't finish in the top 4 when you're at this stage and so close.
Yeah, and that's... Look, Chelsea looked like they could finish... Well, they could definitely finish 4th, couldn't they? But having the Europa League on, not in the background, but it's a big way to get into the Champions League, as United found. They've done great to get so far. It's still going to be difficult to do that. It's not easy to go and win a big competition like that, but they're in with a good shot. And I don't think Chelsea are that far away. I enjoy watching Chelsea. I just think, as Glenn said, there's a couple of issues that need sorting out. I thought from right at the start of the season there was always going to be an issue with Conte and Jorginho, especially in the away games. And you've seen the away games against the big teams. He doesn't have the legs to get around the pitch. At Chelsea, it's fine. It's all tight. It's close. He doesn't get exposed. I think in away games he gets exposed. Yeah. I think the centre forward's a problem for him. I think Higuain was poor today, and as Glenn said, I thought Giroud, at least the last 20 minutes, would have been given a chance. They almost played with 10 men today. What they'll do if Hazard goes, I'm not too sure. That'll be that's obviously going to be a big problem. Whatever team he's out of, he's going to suffer. But in the main, I enjoy watching. I think they've got some good footballers, but have they got enough to go and challenge for the league? I think they're still 2 or 3 players short on that, maybe.
I think the top teams, when they play against the top teams, that's the point they've got against United, one of the top teams in the league. They've struggled. And I'm surprised he hasn't had that flexibility in that midfield to maybe play Conte and Jorginho square of each other.
Yeah, as a
two,
yeah.
And bring Hazard in behind and then play your white.
Why is that as a manager? Stubbornness, do you think?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps he hasn't seen it, or somebody in his... Sometimes it's just someone in your staff that gives you another bit of clarity and just look at... what about if we did it this way away from home? Tighten up with 2 being square. They don't go anywhere. They protect the back 4. And then we let Hazard go and play. Something a little bit different. They might find that they can get some better results against the top teams.
Juan Mata, of course, won European trophies with Chelsea. His first goal against them today, and at this stage, things were looking really rosy for Manchester United, weren't they?
Well, he hadn't played for a while, Mata, and he was good. He was good, especially the first half an hour. He looked lively, sharp. A lot of the best play went through him. This was something Lukaku did very well. Something I was surprised with, actually. Me and Glenn were both surprised with that. We weren't really sure he had this in his locker. But this is what Luke Shaw gives you as well. His penetration. I think he should do it more often. I think the thing with Mata, I think United fans aren't sure about him because of his lack of pace. But today, when he's played in the central areas, he's a lot better. When you talk about lack of pace, he's been playing on the right-hand side, and we know he's not a wide player. Never in a million years. He's never got the pace to be a wide player. But he's played in a central area. He gets off the front, he can turn, he can play a pass, he's got a goal in him. And it makes a big difference to him, and he'll prefer so much playing in there rather than being stuck out wide. I
think Paul hit the nail on the head at the beginning. They were fresh in the first half. They played well. Mata was playing in a good position for him. There was 4 or 5 players that had come in that hadn't played for some time, and their fitness levels were going to peter away. So I felt at half-time Chelsea were in a strong position because I felt United had it was like a boxer. They've given everything, but they didn't knock them out. Yeah. And they were always going to be depleted through energy and in that second half. And I think first half there was a lot for them in that diamond shape for Ollie to think about going forward, because they had lots of energy, they had lots of passing movements. At times it was the old United that we've seen, but the goal they scored was a beautiful move put together, wasn't it? And you just felt they had to go and get a second in that first half period when their energy was up.
And let's hear now from the Manchester United goal scorer, Juan Mata.
Juan, you've just had a few moments in that Manchester United dressing room. What's the mood?
No, we're disappointed. We obviously wanted to win. We needed to win. So we are disappointed because I think we did a good first half. We scored. We had another good chances. It's difficult when you have the top 4 so close, and then you have done an incredible job over the last months to get there. And we will try until the end. But obviously we needed to win today because Chelsea is fighting with us for that position.
You made a really fast start to the match, which culminated in your goal. Was that down to the fact you knew how desperate the situation was for you today?
That's how we should start every game, to be honest. And when we play at home, especially, we need to do what we did today, which is put the other team in trouble, press, have chances, bring the crowd with us. And I think we did very well today in the first half, especially.
What do you say to David De Gea after a moment like that? He's been so big for you, dug you out so many times.
David is unquestionable for me. His level has been fantastic for this club. He's been the best player over the last years. The amount of points that he has saved us is incredible. So we all have good and bad moments over our careers, but for me the important thing is how to react, and he's determined to react positively, to do what he does best, which is being the best. And I have 100% confidence on him, and we all have. So today obviously he's not happy, we are not happy, but tomorrow morning he will come back to training with the best attitude as always. And the only thing I want to say is that his level for me is unquestionable.
Yeah, fine defence from Juan Mata there. Would you keep him at the club, Juan Mata?
I don't know. I think there's a question mark, not just about him, about a lot of players.
But the other question is, Paul, how realistically, how many? You can't get rid of them all, can you?
No.
In genuine fashion.
I think it's just a confusing club and a confusing squad of players at the minute. I think, when Ollie first came in, you thought, this looks good again. The confidence was there. They were playing really well. They were scoring lots of goals, and they've had this bad run. And you're thinking it's a big rebuild job as well. And then you look at today. You look at the first half an hour today, and you think, problem's possibly not as big as people think. So I think there's stuff to work with, Dad. I always think at Man United and at big clubs, you're almost only as good as your centre forwards are, or your attacking players. I'm not sure whether these attacking players are good enough. We talk about potential with Martial, Rashford, but you're getting to a point now where it's not potential. They have to start producing now week in, week out. Lukaku, I'm not sure if he's a centre forward, a top class centre forward that's going to score you 30 goals to win you a league. And I always think there's confusion with your forward. But I don't like going back to when I played, but we had 4 centre forwards who were brilliant, and they were centre forwards. You look now and you've got Lukaku, who's definitely centre forward, but then you've got Martial, you've got Rashford. You're thinking, are they centre forwards? Sanchez, are they wide players? I just think there's confusion all over the pitch.
I mean, a lack of identity, really.
A lack of identity, yeah. And defence, I actually thought Bailey and Lindelof did well. I think Lindelof would be okay. Luke Shaw will be fine. I think if Lindelof can get a tough defender next to him, an aggressive defender, I think he'd be okay. I think they definitely need a right back. Ashley Young's done well, converted from a winger. I think he's done all right. He's struggled a bit last couple of weeks, but in the main, the last few years, he's been okay. I think they definitely need a right back. I think there's confusion in midfield. Is Pogba going to stay? Is he going to go?
Yeah. What would you do? Would you persuade him to stay if he was in two minds, or would you build your team around him?
See, in years gone by, United have lost top players, and it didn't really affect it. You think of Roy Keane going, special player, great leader, great footballer. People like David Beckham, Cristiano going, and Van Nistelrooy, all top players leaving the club. But you always had a squad of players that it didn't really matter. You didn't really miss them that much. I think Paul, we all know Paul, again, potential. You talk about potential. He's 26 years of age. He's got to start producing it week in, week out. So you're going to be losing a player who you know can be world class. Now, can you talk about getting better players next to him? Who is there out there that's going to improve him?
Can you trust him? I think that's the big question. Can you trust him week in, week out?
If he's got a manager who's strong enough with him, you have to be. You go back to Allegri at Juventus and the players who's playing along there. He did a job in that team. He did a job. He worked his absolute backside off, which he should be doing every week. You get the feeling now he's come to this club and he thinks he's the big fish. He needs to be the one showing off every week. He's doing things that he doesn't need to do on a football pitch. You see his stud rolling, his time. He needs to become more clever about what he's doing. His strengths are running, passing the ball, running, getting to the box, scoring goals, assisting goals. Once he starts stud rolling and trying to beat men, it's not his game. It becomes easy to play against. If he passes the ball forward and runs, there's nobody in the world who can stay with him. And this is exactly what he did at Juventus. But he has strong characters around him. He had Chiellini, the great centre-half at Juventus. He had Pirlo next to him. Great players, and he almost did their running for them. Now he thinks everybody's got to do his work for him, and it's going against him.
So how would you manage him to get the best out of him?
Well, I think he's an immense talent. He really is. And when he puts a blue shirt on and plays for France, you see the real Pogba come out more there than he does in a red shirt at the moment. I would say, looking at him when he was 20 to what he is now, to what, 26, I don't think he's improved that much. He had all that ability then. He hasn't matured in the sense, what Paul's saying is there was times where he was playing for himself, not the team. And sometimes he holds on to the ball a little bit and entices people. That's okay if you're drawing them in to ignite and use them, like Hazard does, and you go by them, and you're on the backside of them, and then you're opening spaces and getting spare men on the pitch. That's not what he's doing it for. He's doing it stuff for himself. So I think he's got to mature as a player himself. But when he's hitting passes, when he's looking forward and playing the game a little bit more simpler, the pass might be more difficult, but in his mind, the game is more simpler. That is when he's at his best. He needs movement. He needs Rashford making movement. He needs Lukaku.
And does he need strong management? Like Paul's
I
saying?
think he needs to be cuddled. I think he's one that needs to be absolutely, you are the best player we've got, and we are going to make you this, we're going to make you that. But don't come back at me and start playing for yourself. You've got to play for the team wherever you are. You've got to work hard, because I want you to be the example that the other young players now can look. They can't look at him as an example yet. He hasn't earned them spurs. No. He really hasn't. Next 2-3 years, if he stays at United, he can become that player. But he seems to, in a French shirt, he seems to come alive. The best I've ever seen him play was a few years back against England, when France went down to 10 men. He was immense. Passing, playing around the corner, hitting long passes, hitting short passes, driving into the penalty area. He's got everything.
And that's why you don't want to use him, because you know, you don't want to lose him, because you know that player is in there.
But we're having this conversation now. When he doesn't do it, is it an unnecessary sideshow to almost every performance when Manchester United don't win? It almost seems to be a sub-conversation about Paul Pogba.
Yeah, that's because, as Glenn says, we know what he can do. We know what he's capable of. Now, once he starts messing about, like we keep saying, complicating his game, as soon as he does that, it's a waste of time. He's no good to your team whatsoever. So I think he needs I think Allegri was a strong manager for him. You would have expected Mourinho to be a strong manager.
Well, he left him out, didn't he?
Well, yeah, exactly. And didn't really have that much an effect on him. I just think coming to United, he thinks he's the big player. I'm the one that needs to show people I'm the best player in the world, and he doesn't. He just needs to play simple. He's got teammates around him who should appreciate him and do appreciate him. And do you know what? He's not a bad lad. He's a good lad. As a young player, he wanted to learn. He was desperate to learn. I just don't think, as Glenn said, from the age of 20 to 26, he's just not getting the maturity. The sense is just not coming to him. Now, I think at Juventus, we saw the best midfield player in the world. We did, without a shadow of a doubt. And that's, I think, because he had a top manager, a strong manager behind him, and he had great players, not just okay players like not okay players, but decent players he's got now. He had special players there to guide him and to lead him, and I don't think United had that in him. I think he could be a player who needs a Brian Robson next to him. He needs a Roy Keane next to him, just to give him a little rollicking every now and again, or a bit of a talking to. I think he needs that, because if he doesn't get that, he just carries on in his own little fantasy world, thinking he's the best, rather than knowing that he's part of the team. It's not about him. It's not just about me doing tricks and being on YouTube and showing Real Madrid how good I am, or Barcelona how good I am. It's about being part of a team at Manchester United, and that's why it's so difficult to say, do you lose him? Do you just let him say, I don't want to play for Man United? But is there anybody with his ability at Man United who can replace him? At this point, I don't think there is.
And just one on the job that Solskjaer's got away from Paul Pogba, as well as him that Paul's talking about. You've been into clubs and inherited other managers' players. There's 3 or 4 managers who've assembled that squad between them. Like I say, you can't get rid of them all. No. So how challenging is it to try and put your own stamp on, but then try and work with other managers' players?
Well, that is the challenge for Ollie. They've given him the job now. He's not caretaker anymore. He's got to stamp his authority on them players. He's got to take them aside, the ones that he fancies, for the long term. And that's what happens when you're caretaker, everyone in the squad feels, I've got a chance here. Yeah. I've got a chance to impress the new manager. The ones that have been in from the old manager have got to say, well, I've got to start again. I've got to draw a line, so I've now got to go again and prove to the new man. So the energy levels of the team go bang. No wonder how they started playing. Then suddenly, full-time manager, he's left me out again. I'm on the bench again. Suddenly now the energy that's the management part and you get the reaction, what's happened. But he's got to look at players and think, if it's Pogba or whoever it is, I'm not sure he's sure what shape I'm going to play. Am I going to play with shall I try a back 3? No, I want a back four. Who's my best unit, the two centre-backs? Who's my midfield players to go with Pogba and balance it all off? I'm not sure. Sometimes, do we go back to having the two wide men and one down the middle? Looks like he wants to play with two up.
Yeah.
Well, for me, always with two up. The diamond's okay, but it does give you problems width-wise. To play with three at the back, that's how you can get your two up front. And then you have to adjust things differently. I don't see that he's actually done that. Maybe he needs a pre-season and the players that he wants to buy players to come into that system. It's a mishmash at the moment. It's all up in the air.
That's exactly what it is. It's a mishmash of, you just don't know. His first 9 or 10 games where he was going well, you almost knew the team straight away. And once you have 1 or 2 bad results, all of a sudden, I'm leaving him out, I'm playing him, I'm bringing him out. As you saw today, there's 4 players who came today, 4 or 5 players who just haven't played games for a while. I think he has tried the 3 at the back, but...
No, do you think that broke the flow a little bit as well?
I don't think we can blame injuries. We just wanted to get the tempo going. Of course, we're hoping Eric's not too badly injured. Rashi he struggled with his shoulder and he came through an hour, but couldn't do more.
Where does this leave you, Ollie, in terms of top 4?
Well, I don't think you can give up until it's theoretically over, but of course it's a big mountain to climb. 2 games, we need to focus on them to do our best for ourselves as well, win games again, and see where what the other games will throw up, because the end of this season has thrown a few marginal decisions, strange results. Anything can happen.
How big a setback would it be if you don't make the top 4, particularly after the way you started, 14 wins in 17?
Of course, we still want to finish the season on a high, and let's see where that takes us now. Let's see how many points we can get, and I can answer that when and if.
What did you change then to close the spaces and get control?
We tried to stay more close to Higuain, of course. Otherwise, it was impossible to cover the ball to the other defenders. And so we did it better in the second.